I'll recognize the ranking member for any questions he might have.
Thank you, Chairman. So the chairman said in his commentary that he spoke to a member of Congress who didn't know what TANF is. Didn't know what TANF is? It's one of the most important social service support systems that existed in its antecedents from the New Deal. That's how long this goes back. What's important to acknowledge as well, I know something about the TANF legislation from the 1996 Welfare Reform Act and what happened, the compromises that were reached. Republicans insisted on an end to the entitlement of welfare. And Democrats, in the minority in the House, but with a Democratic president, we wanted more child care, more job training, more transportation assistance, and the compromise was reached in a very divided Congress. But Mr. Underhill, your testimony today is an indication of why all members of Congress ought to know something about TANF. Based upon the trampoline effect that I described at the beginning, you were able to remake your history with a partnership between the federal government and the state governments who administer TANF. That was part of the Reform Act of 1996. And specifically to Mr. Dortch, you've spent all of these years fighting to direct public dollars to struggling families who fall on hard times, oftentimes because of bad luck and bad choices, but not to miss the relevance of why TANF is important. You have been an advocate for all of these years. You've been positioned to question inappropriate spending, and now you are part of a group that says, we want that money spent on people who need it, and the money that was intended for that purpose. The state now is largely responsible for the administration of TANF fundings, as we moved it away from the entitlement program here in Washington in '96. So advocating for an expanded child tax credit, child care, paid family and medical leave, these are policies that actually have been proven to lift families out of poverty. The child credit alone that we inserted into the rescue package, it cut childhood poverty in America in half. In half. So let me give you a chance, Mr. Dortch, to talk about the success of those initiatives as you've described them in your testimony.
Sure. As you mentioned, they cut poverty in half in our state, especially childhood poverty when you consider black families. You have to remember that Mississippi is a state that pretty much relies on jobs that are service jobs with low wages. So people don't have a consistent amount of money that they know is coming in because there's not industry everywhere in the state. What the child tax credit did was put more money into the economy. It allowed families to be able to spend on groceries, on necessities, be able to buy things for their children. This money went back into the economy. It just didn't stay with that family. So this doesn't just benefit an individual or family that is in need. It helps the entire state. Mississippi saw record tax revenue during this period. We saw record income growth during this period. It wasn't because of any changes in state policy. It was because more people had money, disposable cash that they could spend on things. And that, in Mississippi, that's far too often people don't have cash to do that. They don't have the means to be able to buy something extra for their family. Instead, they're very proudful people that always talk about how they can make things stretch. And we're so proud of being able to do that in Mississippi, we forget that we're not getting what we're supposed to be getting in our state. People are proud that they can make things stretch, make payments stretch, make food stretch. You know, we overcome this and we're proud of it, but it shouldn't be that way.
And just a lesson here, I don't want to litigate the case that Mr. Favre has alluded to, but I do think that based upon the experience that all have had as witnesses here, that you might want to consider using this opportunity to make real investments in childhood poverty. It's a stubborn part of American history. Child care, paid leave, child credit, help us all lift children out of poverty.
Thank you, Ranking Member.